I've used dating apps for a lot of weird things. In the pandemic, I was quarantined without a kitchen for a month, kind of a long time. And I was like, how am I supposed to eat dinner? Then I had a genius idea. And in my Tinder bio, I wrote out DoorDash me food and I'll send you my quarantitties. um, I almost got, I got so much food I actually got banned from Tinder. You know how Kim Kardashian said nobody wants to work anymore? I had my own small business. I was making that work. I actually have a whole list of the guys that sent me food and what they sent me. It was very lucrative until I was banned for solicitation. Very rude. Very rude. No, I was just trying to eat dinner. I don't know, where did they get off? Luckily, I just I'm a businesswoman, women in STEM, you know, so I discovered another website where you can sell pictures of your feet. So that was the next business venture. But then I go on. Am I getting a thumbs up for that? Awesome, love that. But then I go on the website for selling your feet. And it said, please price your photo based on the number of toes in the picture. I was like, I'm not going to do all that. Tit pics for a quesadilla, that's okay. But counting my toes for a sexy photo, that's where I draw the line. You have to draw the line somewhere. But I got ahead of myself. I was going to tell a story. It's a little gross. Can I tell a story? It's a little gross.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a bit of a clearly reformed, you know, done some wild things. Now I'm pretty normal. But in college, I went on a date with a guy from England. But then he had like a friend in town and he was like, it's okay if my friend is coming. And I was like, sure, let's, you know, I'll drink together. Does anyone know what sambuca is?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I did not until this evening, but I had 10 shots of sambuca. I was 23 or something. Now we go back to the house and, you know, we go to sleep. And I thought that's all that happened. When I leave in the morning, I noticed that there was a trail of bright orange vomit all through the house.
Oh.
So I go back in and wake up the guy and I was like, hi, is there cleaning products? He helped me clean it up. It was really nice. Has anybody been to San Francisco?
Yes.
Do you know Lombard Street?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the world's curviest street. And I you know, I had 10 shots of sambuca, so I didn't know where the Airbnb was that I ended up, and I still didn't know until I was in the Uber going down the world's curviest street after my 10 shots of sambuca and the trail of vomit through the house. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, I can do this. It's okay. And then the Uber driver chooses that moment to be like, I just started beekeeping. Do you want to look at my videos of me beekeeping on this iPad? And I'm sitting there just trying to hold it together. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But it is interesting, you know, that I feel like, I mean, that's not, that story isn't quite about dating. It's just about something that happened. But the dating in San Francisco, the worst thing that did happen was, you know, they would talk too long about their startup or whatever it is. And then I go to Vegas and it's Nutella on the 6-pack and, you know, doing things on Christmas Eve. But yeah, lots of different adventures. One time I actually in Vegas, I went on a date with a French guy. We went to a Cuban restaurant and from Tinder. And it wasn't until we got to the restaurant that I realized that the French guy didn't really speak much English. And that's okay, but I don't speak any French. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do our best, right? So we sit down and the waiter comes over and he goes, yeah, did you guys want anything to eat or drink? And the guy goes, he just pats his stomach and he goes, food. And I was like, okay, cool. It's going to be fine. We got this. And then the waiter came back over to be like, so where are you from? And he said, he said France. And the guy said Paris. And he said, no, Marseille. And like made like a face. I went, Paris. And he said, oh, you don't like Paris? And then he goes, no, it's kind of like the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. I was like, you didn't know how to order a drink, but you can do that. Okay. But you know that. That was completely lost on me because I don't sports at all. I try. I went into a pizza parlor and was trying to make friends with the guy working there one time, as you do. And he was watching a football game and I was like, oh, is this your team? And he goes, yeah. we had a tough season. We're just trying to rebuild for next year. Like he was talking about a natural disaster and not college kids throwing a ball at each other. It's very silly. I also don't, speaking of things that a lot of people like I don't get, like sports. I also just don't get astrology. Whenever someone is like, what's your sign? I'm like, it's my sign to leave the conversation. Except there is one exception. If I look at all my exes I've had that have done crazy things or had to get a creative contact name, they're all the same zodiac sign. Does anybody have a guess what the sign might be?
Pisces.
Scorpio.
No, do I have one more?
Virgo.
No, they're all Geminis.
Oh, worse.
Every single one of them is a Gemini. And I ended up getting drinks with some guy last night and offhand asked the zodiac sign. And he was like, oh, I don't really know. I think it's a Gemini. And I was like, why? How do they find me? But yes, this 22-year-old Cuban guy that owes me money, he's a Gemini. I'm not into astrology like that, but I think I have to start asking ahead of time. Yeah, the French guy in the day. I work in a hostel. Do we know what? Well, I did. I don't now, but I worked in a hostel. Do we know what a hostel is?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very shared accommodation. If you don't know, it's usually bunk beds in a room that you share. But the one that I'm in or that I was in is a bougie hostel. It's like a pod hostel. Imagine if what a pod is. It's like if Erewhon made coffins and stacked them on each other and put them in the kitchen.
Oh,
and
wow.
I sleep in one of those like a bougie vampire bat. But there's a lot of interesting things about working in a hospital. For one, it's hard to date. The first thing people always say when I show them the picture of the Erewhon coffin is they're like, can you have anyone over? I'm like, no, because you're on top of someone else's Erewhon coffin. It's not going to work. But I've had a lot of run-ins, like interesting things that happened when I worked at the hostel. I had one guy who was from Turkey. And I asked him, I said, oh, nice to meet you. How are you? And he said, Turkey. I said, okay, that's fine. So then I was using the translator to check him in. And so backstory, so when people are swingers, sometimes they say they're in the lifestyle, and which I thought was sort of an American thing, but I'm checking him in and then I'm using a translator to check him in. And then I noticed at one point that his socks had pineapples. I said, hey, I like your socks. He goes, lifestyle. And I was like, okay. You didn't know nice to meet you, but you did know that. All right. That's cool. But yeah, Grace, you mentioned how guys say, weird things to you to start on dating apps. And then there was really a guy that started a conversation with me by asking if I wanted to lick Nutella off his abs. I do make him sound like the weird one, but I did invite him to my house. I never tell that part. I make him sound like he was the weirdo, but I was like, sure, come on over. It didn't end up happening. But people say crazy things to me in public in general on dating apps and also just in public. Does that happen to anybody else? People that you don't know?
Yes.
Yeah, it happens all the time. One time, how am I going to censor this? Okay. I was on a bus in college in San Francisco, and this random guy on the bus at 2 a.m. looked at me and he said, oh, I like your outfit. He said, it's like you skydived in on a penis. That's what he said. Wow. And I was looking at him for some clarification. What the heck does that mean, sir? And then the only clarification I was given was, if that's your game, I'm down. And, in school, they teach you a lot. They teach you if Dan has 9 watermelons and he's making a fruit salad for 50 people, how many pieces of watermelon does Dan need? But they don't teach you what to say if someone tells you that you look like you skydived in on a penis. And these are important things that I need to know. So I don't know what I said. Hey, Grace, how much time do I have left?
You have 1.5 minutes.
Oh, cool. Let's see. What else do I want to say? I used to work for a sugar baby dating site.
Ooh.
Woo!
Marketing. I promise that it was in marketing. I used to work for a sugar baby dating site, and they have a wish list on a sugar baby dating site for things that the sugar baby wants the sugar daddy to buy for them. It's always things like shoes and purses and stuff like that. But if I had been a sugar baby, I either would have been a really bad one or a really good one, depending on your definition. Because if there was a rich old guy buying me things, I would have wanted to be things I really need. So I would have been like, well, I don't need a Chanel bag. What I need is a new pair of socks. I would have been like, can I have a portable phone charger? Can I have two? Because I will lose the first one. Anyway, thank you, Grace, for the time. My name is Jessica Denali. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.